This is huge. Mijiwan just unveiled the largest changes to the game since the Path of the Ocean beta. Some tribes start with more stars, one with new tech, foragers got buffed, markets might be getting nerfed again, and, in a move many of us have been calling for a long time, Cymanti is getting nerfed. There's a whole lot of changes coming, and just like in previous betas, Miji is asking for feedback and suggestions. This democratic approach to the game development is one of the reasons I love this game. So please, get involved and let the Miji team know what we think in the beta testing channels of the official Polytopia Discord server. And you can also discuss it in my Discord server. We have a lot of really smart people in the community, and we'd love to have your feedback. Both links are in the description box below. Since there's so many changes, there isn't time to discuss them all in just this one video. I'll be releasing more videos on each of the changed tribes and on more general topics such as the embassy and forge changes. But for the rest of this video, I'd like to focus on the changes to Cymanti. So first, let's take a look at the balances to the old units. Hexapods now have 0.5 less attack. This means that they no longer one-shot warriors when boosted, and they can no longer one-shot riders unless boosted as well. This also means that it takes more hexapods to kill a giant, and that hexapods are less likely to survive an attack in general. This is a big change, and personally, I think this is too much of a nerf. Part of the issue is that this means that boosted warriors and unboosted hexapods have the same attack, which suggests to me that hexapods will become a much more specialized unit, and that they will no longer be able to explore for villages. It also will make losing their boosts a much bigger deal for hexapods. Now, instead of riders and hexas one-shotting each other, riders can always one-shot hexapods, whereas hexapods only one-shot riders if they've been boosted. Again, I think this is too drastic of a change. It should probably be reverted, although I'm open to discussion about that. Raichi have lost their ability to explode, but instead gained a much more important trait, Crawl. Crawl allows Raichi to slowly move on land, much like battle slugs do. They lose dash and they can only move one tile at a time, but gosh dang it, they can move. It's a good trade-off. And it finally solves the classic Cymanti dilemma of a big ocean with no coastal cities to spawn Raichi. Let's all face it, that was awful. One of the secret changes is that you can now get pirate ruins, which for whatever reason are just Raichi. Veteran Raichi. Dumuxes can now explode after they hit. That may not sound like much, but it essentially allows a Dumux to attack twice. In fact, they can now kill a defender with a defense bonus, something no other unit in the game can. Dumuxes may finally be perfectly balanced, although it is possible that they are too strong now, which would be ironic. However, if they are, it's a simple fix. You can just reduce their attack damage by 0.5, like with the hexapod. Fungi now start at level 0. Honestly, I hate this change. It slows down Sim's economy way too much. Here's comparison of Cymanti starting turns before and after the nerf. Yeah, it's that bad. Peering from the community suggested to me that maybe this change was prompted by turning 5 centipedes, but there are better ways to address that issue. Honestly, this is the kind of change that makes me not want to play Cymanti. Those upgrades are painfully slow. If Migi really wants to go with this idea, I think Cymanti should start with 7 or maybe even 10 stars. It's that bad. Fungi now lose a level when an enemy unit stands on them. Now this change I love. It rewards players for attacking Cymanti, and thus also indirectly rewards Cymanti for attacking. It also functions as compensation for your unit getting poisoned. Sure, it's poisoned, but I got something for it. It has a high skill ceiling, meaning better players can eke out more value from it, which is a really rewarding feature for competitive games. The fungi will grow back at the end of the turn, or at the beginning of the next turn, if the fungus is already growing, but if it was at maximum level, it will take a turn to remember that it needs to level up. Also, since it grows back at the start of every turn, if you don't keep stopping on the fungi, Cymanti will recover naturally, but you can also actively delay Cymanti from getting upgrades even if they kill your unit. Such a brilliant idea. Algae are no longer a building, but a feature, kind of like Polaris' ice. This means that you can put algae under your opponent's buildings to be able to cross, and that you yourself can put things on top of them, like fungi, mycelium, and clythrus. Sawmills, forges, windmills, and markets cannot be placed on top of algae, and monuments can only be placed on algae in shallow water. Algae also spawn with a fruit on top of them when you buy them directly, or if a living island spawns in the algae. More on those in a bit. Generally speaking, I like this change a lot, although it is annoying that you have to get organization in order to collect the pop. Algae spawning with fish would make much more sense to me, as then you automatically have the tech to harvest the pop. By the way, as a word of caution, spawning an algae in any way destroys the resources that were originally there, such as fish or starfish, and they cannot be recovered, even by restoring the tile. Restoring is how we get rid of algae, and it's just an extension of the landfill mechanic that we got to filling aquarium's terrain. Clythrus are now a land building, and unlike before, instead of producing stars for each adjacent algae, they produce one per adjacent fungi. They are back to poisoning units, and they cost 8 stars now, which seems like too much. This means that they can be rushed directly from the start of the game, no other tech required to make them useful. However, spores are hard to get early game, at least until you have centipedes, phyci, and or chitings, or even boomchi or doomuxes. Thus, they're much better than they used to be, but not really comparable to markets. Honestly, it's a little difficult to make them good, which we'll discuss further in the next section. Remember, this is all still a beta and subject to change, and if we don't like something, now is the time to argue it through and tell Migi about it. Our first unit is the Boomchi. I love pretty much everything about this unit. It's got a great name, and it's got a great sprite. I mean, just look at that guy. He looks exactly like you'd expect an exploding bug to look like. Or, as Star Ruin put it, it looks exactly like what happens if you eat bubbles. It has range 0, which basically means it has stiff like Juggernaut setting bombers, but it also means that it can't attack either. It does have 3 attack for when it explodes, but that's literally its only way to inflict damage. Just like every Cymanti explosion ability, it poisons as it explodes, but it also spawns an algae with a spore on it. Honestly, this unit is the absolute best way to get spores for your Clythrus to upgrade with, but currently, even though it also has crawl, it can only explode on water. That's a change I'm suggesting in the beta suggestions tab on Polytopia's Discord server. Please go and upvote it if you would also like Boomchi to be able to explode on land as well. Personally, I think it's the most elegant solution to improving Sims endgame Glaythirst economy, and it would allow niche cases where Boomchi could be used on land as well. Besides that minor suggestion, I love this unit. It might be my new favorite, and honestly, if that's not a plushie merch in the making, I don't know what is. And lastly, we have the Living Island. I've just gotta go ahead and say it. As interesting as a concept as this is, I can't get past my first impression of this sprite. It looks like a hairy jellyfish with eyebrows to me, or maybe like Cookie Monster turned into a hairy jellyfish. I didn't know that was a thing, but I guess it is now. This is one of those moments where I hope the Midgie team has an art contest to make the sprite for this unit, because it's a brilliant idea for a unit, but it's a brilliant idea that looks like all of our raised eyebrows. Yes, you're welcome, and no, you're never going to get this nightmare out of your head. Anyway, this is designed to be Cymanti's Juggernaut / Bomber unit. Kind of like a jellyfish. It acts like a Juggernaut when it moves, which isn't too unique at this point, but the really cool thing about this unit is that it builds algae bridges for you, each with its own fruit, on any water tile that you move it onto. Each time it moves, it spawns an algae tile underneath itself, which you can use to slow push across the water. Before playtesting this unit, I thought it would be ideal for exploring across the ocean. However, after playtesting with it, I realized that it's extraordinarily easy to kill. I mean, we can see here it takes 25 stars to kill in the unit upgrades. However, none of these units lose any HP while attacking this unit. So they can just continue to mill through these living islands once you have them. Honestly, in this current iteration, it's significantly worse than a jellyfish, which jellyfish are broken, and they only cost 8 stars, which is busted. But living islands are much worse, and in this iteration they cost 20 stars, which is very bad. In order to fix these issues, or to address them at least, I think Living Island definitely needs to be cheaper. It also needs to be significantly better in some way, or perhaps even in many ways. I think we could experiment with the stats, increasing the health or defense. Attack is probably fine. Or perhaps making their special ability better. It spawns algae right now. Maybe spawning spores as it moves would make it better. It also suffers from the classic Raichi problem of not being able to be spawned on inland territories, which basically means that if you don't have any coastal cities, unlike in this game, then you're kind of screwed if you want to be producing them. Right now you don't want to be producing them, but in the future, if they get better, you definitely want to, and so I think they'll need to crawl, just like the Boomchi. So here's a fun little exploit. So I think we've all seen the living island thing, where you move around the living island to get more pop, but you can actually just leave them in the same spot and just make the algae by hand. This is probably even more busted. Restore. Yeah, look. You get to pop per unit every turn. Doesn't even have to be a living island. So, living islands are nearly useless, it turns out, with this exploit. I mean, sure, it takes a lot of money and a lot of clicking, but as long as you have the units around, you can just, like, put Faichi. That's the cheapest thing. Every single turn. One more pop. Or you can do it every other turn for 2 pop. Not gonna lie, this is a little busted. Infinitely tall cities. That's going to be it for me this video. If you enjoyed, please keep discussing the beta in the comment section and on the Discords. And if you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. That all really helps out the channel and helps me continue to make videos like this one. Remember, more of these beta videos are coming out soon, so stay tuned. Ciao for now.